So we're here today with Mr. Lee Barrett, and we got something going on right now. It's a presidential election.
Crazy. It's like the real deal. The only
deal.
thing I don't have is babies to kiss.
Yeah, I have a few.
Okay, that's what
I don't know if you know. I got
That's
I got my sixth one on the way.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So, but real quick. So I'm Coltyn Simmons with Custom Fit Real Estate, and I'm here today because we do have LBR election right now, and running for president is Mr. Lee Barrett. And there's a few things, and the reason why I'm doing this specific video is because I want to get out a little bit more of his message. I want to make sure that everybody knows a little bit about what we have on the horizon. And we were just discussing a little bit beforehand. There's some big capital behind some of these companies.
Huge.
That are billion dollar Wall Street firms.
Absolutely.
And unlimited resources. And they're coming for our jobs because they see
the profit.
They see the profit.
Absolutely.
They see the profit. So, and you know what? Honestly, a lot of them do their job. They spend millions and millions of dollars of how to get consumers on their sites. And you know, like you said, we're all individual
small business owners, but successful. Small doesn't mean you're not successful, but you know, really successful. And they started to see that and said, hey, wait a second, we want in on that.
Yeah.
And years ago they came in like Merrill Lynch and Prudential, but they came in as brokerages, not as advertisement agencies, which a lot of them started off as.
Yeah. So there's a few companies that had the great idea that they're going to come in and become marketing, and they're going to drive people to their websites. And you know what? Honestly, it's changed the industry.
It has.
And it's opened the eyes of a lot of agents. And you know what? Honestly, it's given newer agents the ability to kind of get a kickstart, a running start a little bit faster than
Absolutely.
If they were, you know, so it's not all bad.
No, it's not.
But some of the ideas that they have, you know, a la travel agents back in the day.
Yep.
You know, if you wanted to go on a trip back in the day, you had to call your travel agent. Well, what they're trying to do is I feel, either make you an obsolete travel agent,
right.
Or if you can't beat them, join them type of situation.
Bring it under one umbrella.
I agree. And so first off, you know, I've actually known you since I was 17.
Yep.
And unfortunately, looking back, that's 21 years.
A long time ago.
21 years.
Yep.
And so some of you guys that don't know, my mom was a realtor and hung her license at his brokerage. And I was 17 at the time. And, you know, a few years later, my mom unfortunately passed away. And at that time, you know, Lee was her broker and reached out, and we appreciate that support at that time. I can't believe how long ago that was.
It seems like yesterday. People probably don't believe it the way I look now, but we used to train with the same trainer.
Same trainer.
And that's when you were playing pro ball.
Yeah.
And you know, he'd say to me, "Don't try to do what he's doing." I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to."
Well, these days I haven't been training too much either, which I gotta
Right.
get back. You still have his number? I need to get back in touch with him. So, what I want to go over today is, number one, we have the election, and matter of fact, it's going on right now. So if you guys are licensed realtors and you want to go vote, you can vote today,
tomorrow, and half of Wednesday till
half
about
of
2.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so today, tomorrow, half of Wednesday, you can go down and vote. And I want to go over why I'm going to vote for Lee. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit. So first off, let's rewind the clocks a little bit. What got you into real estate in the first place, and how did it kind of get you to where you're at now?
I'm an SOB. I'm the son of a broker. And so my dad started our brokerage in 1959.
Okay.
And so we've been in business over 60 years. And so what I started to do when I was going to college is I said to him, you know, I want to make money because I paid my own way through school. He said, why don't you plan on working in the summertime? So my first summer, I made $38,000. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, in the 70s, $38,000 was a huge amount of money.
Huge.
And so I said, well, yeah, I really like this. And then I was going to real estate with a finance background. And as I went through all that, I realized, and I was thinking about accounting, I realized I couldn't be an accountant. I just couldn't stand it. I wanted to be around people. Yeah. And so from there to owning a brokerage, my dad got sick during my college years. And so I ended up getting involved more in the brokerage and managing it. And then eventually I was a top producing agent for our franchise. And when I was a top producing agent for our franchise, I used to average 187 listings a year. That's why NAR hired me to teach CRS classes and also classes on listings, because I have that worldly experience. I not just only can teach it, but I've actually done it. Mm-hmm. So that's what kind of started. And then, coming 44 years later, 1977, I got licensed. My main reason for ever getting involved in anything at the association level, at nonprofits, I've been the head of, the president of Easter Seals and then the president of the Ronald McDonald House, was always to give back to people that helped me. When I was a kid, Easter Seals helped me speak because I spoke with till this day, I still am concerned I'm going to do it. I spoke with Stutter. I stuttered. And then at Easter Seals, I made a promise to my son to make sure I build the Ronald McDonald House. So those are, nice. I do things with passion. And so in 2004, I saw a change in the industry then. And my gosh, right now, the next 2 to 3 years is scary.
I agree. And just going back to some of the things we're already talking about is the things that are on the horizon is part of the reason why I want to make sure that I make it very clear today why I'm going to be voting for Lee, which I'll get to that in a second. So you just said you did 180 listings a year. So, I mean, myself, I'll probably do maybe 40 this year, and right. I feel like I'm overworked. So 180 listings. How many of you guys are doing 180 listings? Think about how many listings you're actually doing and what it would take to do 180 listings. That's good. So at the end of the day, what are some of the things that as president you're thinking about already, as if you've already got the job, and some of the concerns and some of the main things you want to focus on right out of the gate?
Right out of the gate, the California Association just made watermarks an issue. The largest association in California, which has been on my agenda the whole election, is watermarking your listings. I was just at a rather large company also that does a lot of upscale homes, kind of the kinds you build, the kind you sell. And they could spend anywhere between $1,000 to $2,500 on photos. Yep. And what happens is their photos go into the LVAR website, and then they are sent to different companies. And now, because you have a zip code in that company, with that company, you now look like the listing agent. What the watermark does is makes your company, your name, your license number prominent. In fact, in the California one, within 5 seconds, the consumer has to know. 5 seconds, the consumer has to know who you are. So that's number one. Number two that I want to do is I want to keep the real estate agent in the center of the transaction. Yeah. Kind of like you were talking about. One of the big concerns is that, how do we get back into the center? So I'm working with solution-based people to find out how we do that. How do we get back to that? Mm-hmm. And then recently, I reminded somebody that in the 2004, when I was president, I had all the contracts, the purchase contract and the listing contracts translated into Spanish, because that was the predominant language. I think now you can have it translated into 13 different languages. Yeah. But it's not that I want the contract that they actually sign translated. I want a contract so that they can review the contract in their own language. You and I know as brokers that when you first start to train somebody on how to fill out a real estate contract, they look at it like it's Greek. It's Greek. Yeah. And so can you imagine the customer seeing it for the first time? Yeah. So if it's in their native language, and that's something, while I'm still on the board for the next couple of months, I'm going to push if I don't make it through the election, which I feel pretty confident I will.
Okay. So you brought up a good point. So you were already president at one time and had already made some changes back in 2004. So this time around, what made you want to come back out and do this? Is it concerns you see, or is it just you're at a point in your life where this is something that you feel like kind of a calling for?
I wish it was just a calling. It is a calling, but the second part of it is because I am out in the world, and not just locally, but regionally and nationally and internationally, I start to see what's going on. And one of the biggest concerns I have is that we will become the dodo bird. We will become that thing that used to be, but that is no longer. And because I have the time, I have the energy, I run a company, but the company doesn't run me. I have other people to help me run the company.
Yeah.
So I don't have to go out on listing appointments. I don't have to go on sales appointments. I'm available to be the leader, and that's really what I think we're going to need.
That right there is exactly the bullseye of why I'm voting for you. Not just because I've known you since I was 17, but because I look at things, and I always look at things from every side, because I've always been told from the beginning, there's their side, your side, and then the middle is usually where we end up. And so I have this awareness that I'm always trying to look at other people's perspectives. And the perspective that I see right now in this election is that your opponent she's a badass. She's a rock star. She is in her prime. And I have all the respect for her in the world. And I've done transactions with her, and she's on top of her game. Now, I think back, and do you remember basically the 90s Bulls with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, all those guys?
Absolutely.
I think back and I think of it, bear with me for a second. I think back and I say to myself, if Michael Jordan was pulled out of that, and David Stern said, hey, I need you to run the league for me, and also be a top producer on your team, what would have happened at that time? I mean, at the end of the day, we always try to create win-wins. That would have been a lose-lose. The Bulls wouldn't have won, the league would have suffered, and it's not because Michael Jordan was any less of a person. It was just because the focus to run at that high of a level has to be there on a day in, day out basis.
Absolutely.
So here's my opinion, and obviously it's my opinion. People can agree or disagree with me all they want. My opinion is that I want my president that's out there in the world fighting for us as realtors, keeping me a viable option for the consumer, only focused on that.
Right.
I only want them focused on making our business work better for us, the realtors and the consumers. Now, what I don't want is, I don't want someone that's going to give 50% effort, 75% effort, 80% effort to one or the other. And my concern is that because the opponent is such a rock star at real estate, she's going to be going on, listing appointments all year long.
Right.
And my concern is that balancing act of trying to do both at a very high level. And we all know that doing things at that high of a level is impossible when you have two things of that
magnitude.
weight.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're both big magnitudes.
Huge magnitude, because in the end of the day, if you're producing at that high of a level, you got to be available. Even if you have a team, I don't care. I have a large team. I have 18 agents on my team, and I still have to be available to them.
Right.
And my concern is that at this point in time, you're better suited because of you've already been a part of thousands and thousands of transactions.
Absolutely.
You've already produced at a high level. And at this point, I said earlier, it's your calling, because I feel like the timing of it is you can focus 100% of your energy and focus on this being president and protecting us as the realtors.
Absolutely.
And to me, that is priceless, because I don't want to be worried about whether or not these third parties are coming in and invading our space while you're at a listing appointment. Right?
I agree.
And producing at that high of a level. And that's part of what I wanted to get out to the rest of the realtors that may not know you, is that being president is not going to be taken lightly by you.
No.
Just by, number one, I know your history, and I know you're passionate about it. And your focus needs to be there. And understanding of the issues and researching the issues and going out in the world and understanding that, and not being worried about when's your next listing appointment. Oh, I got 3 or 4 listing appointments today. No, it's your sole purpose is to protect us.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, I said a quote a few weeks ago live on social media, and it was of Alexander the Great.
Yep.
And he was once quoted as saying, "I don't fear an army of lions led by a sheep, but I do fear an army of sheep led by a lion."
Right.
And for me, that struck a chord, because I look at it as your opponent at this time is such a lion in terms of her business and what she's doing. And honestly, she will probably one day become a great president. I just feel like right now, it might be a little premature. And I think that the only reason why is to produce at that high of a level and have that much energy and focus, because you've done it before.
Absolutely.
You've done it before.
Yep.
So you know the energy and effort it's going to take.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to be doing trial and error at this point in time.
No, because at this point in time is when all the risk is really happening. This is real. This is not, we think it's going to happen. This is happening almost on a daily basis. Things are moving so quickly. We're involved in so much litigation at the national level. We got to be in the game, we got to understand the game, and we got to make decisions that support our members, and so our members in a position to succeed. And believe me, this litigation has potential of billions of dollars worth of settlements, and the real estate industry could be crushed. So we need a lion, and I'm that lion.
Yeah, oh, and I agree that you're that lion, and you're that lion that can really put the focus and energy and effort into that type of a battle. Because every day we have these little battles, and
right.
you got to be plugged in at that point on a daily basis.
It's so funny. Ever since you did that quote, I just read a poem about a lion getting needled all the time. He's laying there and he's putting up with it until one day he gets up. He says, "No more."
Yeah.
And that's my day.
Yeah.
I'm getting up and saying, before I ever leave an industry, I want to make sure I left it better than, and that's everything I've ever done in my life.
Correct. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. He gets up, he runs like the wind, and
yeah.
You know, for a second, you sit there and you look around, and I remember 3 or 4 years ago, you would private message me like, "Hey, just a heads up, make sure that you got your license number on that post," and I'm like, right. "Oh shoot, that's right." But at a certain point, you get poked and you get prodded, and you see the things that are happening, and you see the movement and the shift in our industry of less educated realtors, more savvy investors coming from the outside in, and you start to see some of these companies starting to take over the space, and you as a lion, you say, whoa, hold on a second, and I can 100% see that, and that is exactly precisely why I'm voting for you. Now, if this was a listing presentation,
right.
I'm sorry, I'd probably go with your opponent.
Absolutely.
Because if this was a right now, you sell my house, I'd probably hire her. Now, because she's focused in that. Right. Now, if this is at a state level, national level, world level, protect my industry, protect my business, I'm sorry, I'm voting for you.
That's where the Z's and the Y's and the X's are looking at me and saying, well, maybe you should shave his goatee off because he looks too old. Maybe you should diet. Somebody that was advising me said, maybe you should diet. I am who I am. And I can tell people that I am healthy and willing to put the effort in and attack this as much as I need to.
You know, there's a huge difference between being smart and being wise. Right? I know a lot of people that are probably some of the smartest people I know, and it's always just analysis with a paralysis. It's overanalyzing things and thinking, and then I step in and I go, look, just do this. Right. Discussion over.
Right.
Because at a certain point, you can be as smart and as sharp as you want to be, but without wisdom. It's kind of like when the kids are playing video games. And you know, one of my nieces or nephews is playing a video game, and they're getting to level 5, 6, and they're like these little kids, and they go, "Oh, Uncle Coltyn, why don't you play?" And within 3 seconds, bang, I'm dead. Well, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
When you get the office and you hit the ground running, there's not going to be really any learning curve because A, you've been there before, and B, you already know the process that you're going to take to get going. You already know, who you can leverage, who you can work with.
It's so funny because Dave Tina, senior, just said the same thing in a video for me. He said, I've been there, and I have. I know I don't need 7 months to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And honestly, like we were talking about before, that has less to do with the opponent, but it's more to do with the job itself. There is some feeling around a little bit, and it's like when you first take that office, the lights are out and you got to figure out where the light switch is. Yep. And for you to go in with the experience you have and the knowledge of how things work at a state, local, and federal level, for me, it's a very easy decision. But like I said, it takes nothing away from the rock star that she is. It's just at this moment in time with what is at stake, I'm sorry, the decision's actually very clear cut, very easy for me. Now, down the road, I'd probably vote for her time and time again. Right. But right now, it's super important that the people out there, the realtors out there, understand what we're talking about here. And if you're on the live right now, I've probably been getting phone calls the whole time, so it may have been stopping and starting. But if you have questions for me or Lee, please put it in there. What do we have on the horizon? What do I need to be concerned with? Ask those questions. Like I said, I've known him since I was a kid, and he's always willing to teach and to help and to be there for us. And not just
if you're in my company.
No.
Because I reached out to you when I was a real estate commissioner, and my big concern was stay safe.
Yeah.
Because when you are an influencer, when you are out there changing the industry in the best way, people are going to look at you and say, hey, wait a second, maybe this is somebody I need to bring down a couple notches. Yeah. That's why I'd write you, and because we weren't friends on Facebook, I just reached out to you because that's how important it is to me. Yeah. I don't have to be your broker. I don't have to be, but if I'm your president, I'm your president for all the people. Yeah.
And I think that not only is there concern with outside influences, but there's also concerns within our industry of, the low level of entry, right? What industry in the world can you pass a test with a C- basically and make $100,000 in your first year?
It is insane.
And that's what makes it so appealing. And it also, when people get into our business, they start to realize it's not as easy as it looks on the magazine.
Absolutely.
And so what do they first do? They start to cut corners.
Yep.
They start to cut corners, and then eventually they end up being the 90% that's out of the business within the first 3 years because they realize it's not that easy. And so there's a portion of my concern is that we need to raise the level of entry to keep our industry at a high level.
And in 2023, it will be a legislative issue again, so we can bring that up. But really, in 2015, NAR did a survey, and they did a survey called the Danger Report. And in that Danger Report, they said 50% or more of our members were inadequate. When I get in as president, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a virtual library of places where somebody like you that goes on a panel, I'll have panelists about every other month, we'll do a panel, and people will vote on that panelist, and then that panelist will be highlighted with an hour of whatever they want to talk about as influencers, as people in the marketplace. And I've already got that approved. These are stuff that once I told somebody, I went and asked, can we do this, even if I'm not here? And they said, yes, we can do it. So all that stuff, all the education we want to get out there, I've already started to work on. Even though I don't have the job.
You know what, honestly, but that's where it all starts. With anything in your life, if you're going to be successful at it, in your mind, you already got to have the job, because that's what enables you to hit the ground running, and that's what I love about this. But the other thing that you just brought up that's huge to me is that this day and age, all you got to do is have a smartphone, and all of a sudden you're a freaking guru. You're a real estate sales, online lead generation guru. But yet, I tell all of my agents that are like, oh, did you hear this? Oh, did you see this? Oh, did you see this? And I said, how many houses have they sold? Okay, that's not my guru. Okay, that's not my online lead source if you've only closed 4 transactions. Because if if you're that good at what you do,
Do
you
that.
should be closing at a high level. And so I love that, because I've seen panelists at some of these things, and I'm thinking to myself, that guy, I'm going to learn from that guy. He hasn't closed more than 3 or 4 transactions in his career.
And that's where there's going to be requirements.
Yeah.
I not only want influencers, I want people that are actually doing the work. Like when I was an active agent, I wish I could have been able to get some of the message out there. Because here's what I know about people that are successful. They're about abundance. They're not about scarcity. And so people that are about abundance are saying to other people, here, let me help you up. Let me lean down and pull you up the mountain, because if you are better, then I am better because of you.
100%. Yeah. One of my personal things is that Zig Ziglar once said, you help enough people get what they want, you'll always end up with what you want.
Amen.
And my personal mission in life is I want to leave people better than when before they met me.
Absolutely.
When they meet me, they experience me, and whether they leave our relationship or they move on or I pass away, I want them to think to themselves, I'm a better person because of meeting him. And that's one of my personal goals, and it'll be a lifelong goal, because that's something that you can continuously work on.
Absolutely.
And I want people to be better after they met me. And so that's why I love that. I love that because there's so many people that can go do a video tour of a house and say how amazing they are, but in reality, that can fool some of the younger agents, and it's dangerous.
Right.
It really is dangerous, because now some of these new agents are thinking to themselves, oh, all I got to do is show some cool houses and I can put deals into escrow. Well, then when they do an escrow with some of us realtors that are experienced and we go, hey, do you have this? Hey, do you have this? Hey, how come you hadn't do that? Hey, what's going on with this? And they're just like,
yeah, they're frozen.
I thought I just had to do social media posts and I would make $100,000 a year.
And that's the sad thing, being on the commission for 6 years. I saw the worst of the worst, the top 3% of the worst people. And a lot of times I believed it was just training. If they would have just got somebody to hold their hand and say, hey, wait a second, that's not a good way to go.
Training and leading by example.
Sure.
I think that a part of a lot of agents' success is following the leader. Okay. Right. Well, if you don't have a leader to follow, then you're really left to yourself to figure it out.
Yep.
And at that point, you go to a default, and then path of least resistance.
Yep.
That's typically, and I tell my agents all the time, you know where the path of least resistance leads you typically?
No, tell me.
To the sewer. To the sewer.
I agree.
The path of least resistance never leads to the mountaintop. Right. And that's part of another reason why I'm voting for it, is because I know that you know the work that's ahead of you. Right. Because you've been there.
Right.
You know the work that's going to be that's coming up, and you're not shying away from it. You're leaning into it. And that's why I'm actually excited about it. And I think that with you in charge, I think that it's really going to help everybody. It's going to help everybody, and it's going to get us to that point where the industry kind of realigns and it gets back to, at a certain level, back to the basics of just human interaction, protecting the agents as the centerpiece of real estate, and less outside influence. So I'm excited. I've already cast my vote.
I appreciate that.
So you got my vote, obviously, if you guys haven't noticed. But like I said, if you guys have any questions you have, please put it in the messages below. Reach out to us. If anybody wants to reach out to you, Lee, what's the best way?
Cell phone, they can call me at 702-460-7355, or they can reach me at Barrett, BarrettAndco Inc. @gmail.com.
Beautiful. When we drop this, we'll put that into the link below. And again, guys, you have today, Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, and half of Wednesday to go get your votes in. So if you're a licensed realtor and you care about the future of your business right now, get out there and vote for Lee Barrett. All right?
Thanks, brother.
You got it.
Thank you. You bet.